Life in America is changing.
Daily life is about to change.
Pandemic has now infected.
Welcome to your future. A digitally interdependent, hyper-connected, networked world. Throw off the tethers of ordinary reality and join the digitized multitudes ruled by global e-governance. With your very own New World Citizen of the People's Federated Republic of the Great Democratic United Global States Incorporated chip card. Just one chip is now a key to every relevant database you are in on Earth. We're taking identification to a technocratic level beyond Aldous Huxley's wildest dreams and George Orwell's nightmares. One chip linked to your unique citizen number connects to all of your relevant societal business, including your passport, your driver's license, and all Federation-required licenses, titles, and registrations, your car, home, and medical insurance, all of your medical records, including your mandatory annual psychological evaluation, your DNA profile, and your prescriptions, your voter registration and history, and your bank account and digital universal basic income credits. But that's not all. Your blockchain-protected New World Citizen chip also gives you a digital footprint everywhere you go on the web, from online news sources to all of your social media accounts, authenticating you online to ensure a safe, peaceful, and secure society where no one can offend anyone else, because no one can hide. Continuous, real-time, 24/7 tracking and tracing will ensure a truly peaceful, digital utopia for all. No more fear of identity theft or forgetting those pesky passwords, as your digital citizen mark will be biometrically verified through your fingerprints, iris scan, EEG, voice print,
I'm sorry, Dave,
and facial map. From Cairo to Rome to Ingolstadt to Paris to Washington to Estonia and Astana. From ocean to ocean to ocean to heck, all of the oceans. Being a digital resident offers you a new concept of freedom to be a global citizen under your borderless digital new world order.
May be incompatible with faith and the actual definition of freedom. Databases wholly owned and operated by the People's Federated Republic of the Great Democratic United World States, Incorporated, and their subsidiaries. Your digital citizenship is legally binding, and data may be shared with third parties listed in subsection 187-C.2 without your express knowledge or consent. These terms and conditions are subject to change at any time, which is fine because they are 8,642 pages long and we know no one is reading the fine print. Travel allowed only in pre-approved, chip-validated mega regions and not including core or reserved sustainable development zones, as designated by the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Online behaviors deemed negative or harmful are subject to UBI digital credit deduction without notice, up to and including account termination. See user agreement for further details.
Our smart grid network touches every corner of the globe,
It's one digital new world.
and your chip is your portal to it. So apply today.
To authenticate and secure your digital citizenship.
Because if you didn't do anything wrong,
You shouldn't have anything to hide.
and in this brave new world,
And in this brave new world,
you won't be able to.
as you may have heard, billionaire philanthropist Gates, who was hit in the face with a pie once back in 1998, quietly stepped down from his position on the board of directors at Microsoft and Berkshire Hathaway late Friday the 13th in March, towards the end of the daily news cycle and right before the CV really hit the fan here in the US, to quote, dedicate more time to philanthropic priorities.
Vaccines and understanding how to make new vaccines, make them in large quantity, that's what we're doing all the time. And vaccines, our foundation and some other governments did work on some new vaccine platforms that are being accelerated here during this epidemic. We're working closely with the vaccine companies.
During this pandemic, for which he seems to have solutions ready to go.
Vaccine, which is such a key thing.
Or that C, he's a straight-up dictionary definition of a technocrat, in that nobody ever voted for him, and yet the scientific projects he dumps all these billions into affect everyone's lives anyway.
Spending millions and millions of dollars just making decisions and getting together with experts, quote unquote, from elite universities and just doing stuff. They're just doing stuff. If they did this and they told you about it, what are they doing they didn't tell you about? That's the question. And we don't know the answer. Why? Because we live in a technocracy. That is why. This is the rule by, government by, and management of society by technical experts. You may have voted for president, but did you vote for someone to cover the earth in video surveillance satellites so there's nowhere to run? Because that's what he's doing. That's what he does with his money.
Just like he didn't have a say that day back in Brussels in 1998, when he was attacked in the face by a pie made of cream.
Gates, a man the media has recently begun referring to as a, quote, global health expert, despite the fact that he does not have a medical degree, just lots and lots of money to buy scientific research with, and the man who was hit not just once, but 3 times by 3 different men with 3 different pies back in 1998 in Brussels, has been doling out not just gads of cash, but his very own personal recommendations on what should be done with it and to fight the deadly coronavirus outbreak, which his philanthropy just so happened to co-run an eerily true-to-life simulated exercise of some 2 weeks before the first patient was even officially diagnosed with novel COVID-19.
But what he never could have predicted was this pie right here being slammed into his face on his way into a meeting in Brussels back in 1998.
In February, the World Health Organization, which every nation pays into, like the United Nations, it's there to help us. We pay for it, we subsidize it, but it was actively working against our interests and as a propaganda arm for the Chinese. Absolute disgrace. We should be pulling out of that organization tomorrow and having nothing more to do with it. By all means, let's have a world body that looks after health, but not that one. It's been completely corrupted, much as the United Nations has been completely corrupted.
In fact, Gates was the first private individual to keynote the WHO's General Assembly, and since has been consulted extensively on the worldwide pandemic COVID-19. Gates is also a private individual who hit 3 men in the pie with his face on his way into a meeting with community leaders in Brussels back in 1998.
In fact, Gates has donated more than $2.4 billion into the WHO since 2000. Quote, he is treated like a head of state, not only at the WHO, but also at the G20, remarked a Geneva-based NGO representative, quoted by Politico, who once called Gates one of the most influential men in global health, although he likely did not feel like it in that fateful day back in 1998 when he was hit in the face with a pie in Brussels, as seen here, sped up 3 times in a row.
Gates' first recommendation is that the entire United States go into full nationwide lockdown for 10 weeks.
I've said 6 to 10 weeks, but again, every week as we look at those numbers, it'll help us see how much longer we'll have to be in this really extreme mode where we're not out and mixing around.
Gates, of course, being the sole victim of what reporter Dan Rather melodramatically referred to as
a cowardly sneak attack on one of the world's wealthiest men. The target was Microsoft chairman Bill Gates, arriving for a meeting with community leaders. Watch what happens when a team of hitmen meet him first with a pie in the face.
When he was bitch-slapped in the face with a pie in Brussels back in 1998. Skip ahead to March 31st, 2020, in an op-ed in the Washington Post where Gates wrote, quote, because people can travel freely across state lines, so can the virus. The country's leaders need to be clear. Shut down anywhere means shut down everywhere. Until the case numbers start to go down across America, which could take 10 weeks or more, no one can continue business as usual or relax the shutdown.
Just days later, Dr. Anthony Fauci mirrored Gates' nationwide lockdown sentiments on CNN.
Knowing this,
and which activities like mass gatherings may be, in a certain sense, more optional. And so until you're widely vaccinated, those may not come back at all.
Stating in a March 18 Reddit Ask Me Anything session that, quote, eventually we will have some digital certificates to show who has recovered or been tested recently, or when we have a vaccine, who has received it. Following his statement, the nation of Germany has already jumped on board, having announced its testing of a certificate program which would issue coronavirus immunity passports to indicate who is allowed to re-enter society. Health Secretary Matt Hancock recently announced Britain could follow suit, as the UK government is also considering issuing immunity certificates, potentially in the form of fun wristbands.
Then we are looking at introducing something like an immunity certificate, or maybe a wristband that says I've had it and I'm immune and I can't pass it on and I'm highly unlikely to catch it.
Which will allow citizens to travel freely and go back to work. And speaking of travel restrictions, Bill Gates should know a lot about them, considering his travel was heavily restricted when he tried to enter a building for a meeting in Brussels back in 1998, but was slowed down significantly by a pie being slammed directly into his face, with 2 more pies thrown at him before he could even make it to the front door.
And speaking of coercive software, Microsoft published a creepy new patent on March 26, 2020. That would use body signals such as heat or even a person's brain waves to unconsciously mine cryptocurrency, which it suggested could work while a person is watching ads. Yes, that's right, a Microsoft patent to mine crypto monitoring body signals to determine if a person has performed certain required tasks, titled Cryptocurrency System Using Body Activity Data, publication number W0/2020/060606.
Knowing this, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
That's too damn creepy. You know what? No quippy line this time. Let's just watch this clip.
And speaking of denial, Gates also later denied that, quote, the pie wasn't even that good, according to a February 5th, 1998 Daily News article detailing the very moment his face was slapped with a pie in what the article's author referred to as, quote, an unexpected taste of Belgium, which Gates received in the same week he was also slapped with 11 state subpoenas. It is unclear how the pie couldn't be very good, considering it appeared to be cream, as featured prominently in many a Three Stooges episode. Gates' second piece of advice is expanded federal testing. He specifically pointed out the self-swab kits developed by the Seattle Coronavirus Assessment Network, without specifically pointing out the fact that the Seattle Coronavirus Assessment Network is funded directly by Gates Ventures, the private office of Bill Gates, and receives technical guidance from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Gates, the man whose face knows intimately what a cream pie unexpectedly being smashed into it feels like, considering that's exactly what happened to him in Brussels back in 1998, went on to say, quote, we should aggregate the results so we can quickly identify potential volunteers for clinical trials.
But the rumor mill makes it hard to keep secrets, and employees switch from company to company, or being up here where we're able to keep our secrets.
Gates, who financially backed $1 billion plan to cover the Earth in Big Brother satellites capable of live streaming unfiltered HD footage of the entire planet Earth in 2018, also called for a national coronavirus tracking system, specifically similar to the one rolled out in South Korea, where citizens' privacy was completely invaded and eroded in the wake of the viral outbreak as the government began tracking everything from CCTV surveillance to bank card purchases and cell phone data to track the population and determine who to test. As of April 3rd, Google has released a series of community mobility reports for 131 countries, including the United States, where the data is broken down county by county, with localized info on everyone's travel to places like stores and parks. Gates probably wished such a system had already been in place in Brussels back in 1998 when 3 men lay in wait to throw pies in and around his mouth hole on his way into a meeting with community leaders.
And speaking of knowing who has had a vaccination and novel vaccine technology, which, if his public appearances for the last 20 years are accurate, Mr. Gates appears to do every other 5 seconds.
New vaccines,
new vaccine platforms, vaccine companies, vaccines,
probably 2 of the vaccines, not just hundreds of millions, but literally billions of those vaccines.
The Gates Foundation has also recently partnered with Rice University to create what they're referring to as a quantum dot tattoo, which will hold vaccination records on the skin using dissolving microneedles that deliver not only a vaccine, but also embed fluorescent quantum dot tags, described in the Rice press release as, quote, something like a barcode tattoo left just under the skin that can be read to identify that a person has had the vaccine administered. In an article announcing the development of this new technology dated December 18, 2019, just as the coronavirus was really taking off, Rice Assistant Professor of Bioengineering Kevin McHugh was quoted as saying, "The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation came to us and said, hey, we have a real problem, knowing who's vaccinated.
Vaccine, have the vaccine. We really will want to be broadly vaccinated.
This is not at all like the problem Gates had when he also didn't know he was about to get smacked in the face with a pie on his way into a meeting in Brussels back in 1998. And speaking of clinical trials, Gates, who could be seen here in 25% slow motion taking a surprise pie right in the face in Brussels back in 1998, has now put up billions to fund new factories in search of not one, not two, but 7 different COVID-19 vaccines.
And getting a vaccine.
Because if there's a problem that can be solved with a vaccine,
it is fair to say things won't go back to truly normal until we have a vaccine that we've gotten out to basically the entire world.
Bill Gates and his billions will be right there. The exact same way 3 guys with pies were right there too, when Gates thought he was just going to walk right into that meeting in Brussels back in 1998.
You wouldn't dare.
Back to you, Dan.
Security guards in Belgium were caught flat-footed today by a cowardly sneak attack on one of the world's wealthiest men. The target was Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates, arriving for a meeting with community leaders. Watch what happens when a team of hitmen meet him first with a pie in the face. Gates was momentarily and understandably shaken, but he was not injured. The hit squad piled on with 2 more pies before one of them was wrestled to the ground and arrested. The others, for at least the moment, got away. Gates went inside, wiped his face clean, and made no comment. He then went ahead with his scheduled meeting. No word on the motive for this attack.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Ebola! Ebola!
Ebola has come to America, and government is concerned for your safety. That's why the Center for Disease Control is working round the clock to prevent you from ending up like them. Don't be another statistic. Ask your doctor about the Ebola vaccine today. Side effects may include soreness, headache, stuffy nose, sore throat, joint pain, abdominal pain, constipation, coughing, nausea, diarrhea, fever, blood in the urine or stool, pneumonia, stomach inflammation, swelling, chills, fussiness, crusting, redness, vomiting, seizures, apathy, autism, non-stop crying, bowel blockage, coma, fainting spells, permanent brain damage, allergic reactions, swollen glands, deafness, bleeding disorder, lowered consciousness, death.
Ebola!
Problem, reaction, solution. Over and out.
Bend over and grab your ankles for the 2012 Bilderberg All-Star Awards, featuring Bill Gates, Steven Spielberg, Prince Charles, Colin Powell, Hillary Clinton, George H.W. Bush, Rick Perry, Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair, Charlie Rose, David Rockefeller, Ben Bernanke, Timothy Geithner, Paul Wolfowitz, and many more. Who will win? Biggest donor, best human disguise, and most lifetime kills. It's the biggest secret meeting of the year.
Here comes the criminal.
Whoop, there goes Joseph Ackerman of Deutsche Bank.
The whole world is watching.
With musical performances by Jay-Z, Rihanna, Bill Clinton, Bono, and John Ashcroft.
Let the eagles soar.
Stop by early for live red carpet coverage with We Are Change hottie, Luke Rudkowski.
Banksters, corporate heads, media moguls, heads of state, kings and queens.
RT heartthrob, Abby Martin. And your host, Alex Jones. The 2012 Bilderberg All-Star Awards, where your fate is determined. Friday, December 21st, only on Fox. Presented by MK Ultra. Live life to the ultra.
We are revealing you!
Daddy, can I have a buddy burger?
No, honey, you've had too many already.
So, hey, did you know McDonald's has a new custom burger?
Yeah?
It's called the Build-A-Burger.
Really?
Yeah.
Put whatever you want on it?
Oh, yeah, whatever
Sounds
you
good
want.
to me.
Yeah, it's
Can we
great.
still get a butter burger from Burger King?
Oh, dude, we're going to get a butter burger, and then we're going to get a Build-A-Burger.